All right, guys, you got the right channel. This is Cedric and Brian Speak Out, and this is where we are uncensored, unfiltered, and just speak about what's on our mind in culture and politics.
Yes. Obviously, we promised you guys a long time ago. We are a little late to the game, but we want to cover Charlie Kirk, a friend to many of us, even though none of us met him. Well, he was a friend to every single person. And we're going to cover some topics here. We're going to talk about the left's reaction, Jimmy Kimmel, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and a host of other things. So stay tuned, and we will be discussing that momentarily.
Cedric and Brian Speak Out!
All right, guys. As Cedric said, we didn't want to do it. The motions were kind of raw, especially if you watched our Tom McDonald reaction on our original channel. You could see Cedric was pretty broken up there. We didn't want to just pile on because we saw a bunch of YouTubers just trying to, jump onto this thing, and we wanted to kind of let things settle, collect our thoughts, see kind of how the world reacted. We did see the immediate reactions, which were disgusting. That's the first thing I want to talk about, Cedric, is, as abrupt and as, I don't know what the word is, in your face the actual murder was, immediately following when I saw the reaction of, all I can do is call them leftists, celebrating the death of a man who they didn't know. All they did is they saw clips of him and they formed a person, a picture in their mind of what he was. But even so, let's say you thought that you believed all that bullshit that was on the airways about Charlie Kirk. Would you still celebrate his death? Would us on the right? I mean, I know there are people that are scumbags on both sides, but somebody like me and you who are vehemently disagree with a lot of what goes on the left, would you ever celebrate the murder of somebody, Cedric?
No, I can't see myself doing that. I'm going to do my best here. Again, as I said in the Tom McDonald review, we wouldn't do that review justice if we didn't talk about who Charlie Kirk was first and foremost. And he wasn't a mouthpiece for the conservative right. He was a mouthpiece for Jesus. That was important to him. And if you remember the story in the Bible where Pontius Pilate was going to crucify Jesus, it was common back in those days to give the crowd a choice. They had a choice to release a prisoner. And it came down to Jesus or another gentleman by the name of Barabbas. Now, if you knew about Barabbas, he was like a modern-day serial killer. This man was the worst of the worst of the worst. And the crowd said, we want to release Barabbas. So, and I would call them leftists back then. They cheered, they mocked, they ridiculed Jesus as he was being spit on, had the crown of thorns put on, he was scourged with the cat of nine tails. And there's just inherent evil in a lot of people over 2,000 years ago that's still running rampant today. To cheer, to mock, to crip walk on a man's grave, there's the most disgusting thing I ever saw.
Yeah. And I just want to, just for those of you out here, you're going to hear on this channel specifically, Cedric is he's going to look at things from more of a biblical side. I'm more of the secular guy, for better, for worse. For those of you who don't like that about me and you want to hear more of the biblical, you're going to get both here. I liked Charlie Kirk. I mean, I respected the man as a Christian and a devout Christian who followed his faith. But his points that he made on those stage in front of those college kids did have a biblical background, but he made his points from a secular standpoint also. So you could follow and appreciate Charlie Kirk as a secular person or as a non-Christian just by the people he hung around with. The people that were his biggest supporters were, one, Ben Shapiro, a Jew, Dave Shapiro, a gay Jew. In fact, they've known each other for a long time, and Charlie invited people that weren't devout Christians to come with him on his tours because he welcomed all good people. And so I just want you to know, if you're watching the channel for the first time, it's not just a purely Christian channel. You are going to get that from Cedric because that's his worldview. But I just want to let you know we're going to look at it from both aspects, just because that's going to get me into my next topic, Cedric, which is Cedric and I started, we were big Candace Owens fans. We actually went and saw one of her early tapings when she was with the Daily Wire. We also both like Tucker Carlson. Now, I don't know where Cedric, we haven't sat and talked about this. I don't know what happened to those two. Everything, and because I do have Jewish background, my mother was Jewish, my father was not. But everything that comes out of their mouth, it's like every bad thing happened now seems like it's the Jews. So in Candace's mind, the Jews killed Charlie Kirk, and in Tucker's mind, it's just like Jesus. The Jews killed Jesus, and it's just so divisive. And if you want to believe that, it's a free country, but I cannot follow them anymore just because they seem to have this one thing locked in their mind. Cedric, I don't know what you feel about that, but it was disappointing because I really liked Candace.
Right. Well, again, coming from a biblical worldview, I've always, as a young child, growing up and saying that the Jews were the chosen people. Now, whatever that means to most of you, you can take it and run with it. And I've always stood with Israel. Some of you are going to turn the video off right now. I understand that. But I do know this about mankind. No one is perfect. When Hamas attacked the Jews, was that October 7th was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember. They had no choice. And I've always said this about Charlie Kirk, and I think I put this on my personal Instagram.
I just want, because sometimes Cedric gets into his things and he says words and he goes back and he realizes it. And it said when the Hamas killed or attacked Israel, they didn't have a choice. I don't think he meant that. I think he meant Israel didn't have a choice to go and defend themselves, right, Cedric? I just want to make it clear.
That. No, maybe I did.
Okay.
That's what. Yes. And that's what I was going to say. Charlie Kirk showed me, a person, that you didn't have to be a punk to be a Christian. And people like referring to that one biblical text of turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek. It gets to a point where you need to stand up and fight for yourself. That's what Israel did. Now, what Hamas did was, to draw the comparison, what happened to Charlie Kirk, it was very cowardly what they did to attack them in that manner, in that fashion. And Israel stood up for themselves. And people are saying, well, Israel, they shot children. Well, when Hamas is using those children as shields, what do? It's terrible all the way around. I'm not saying that the killing of children is okay. And watch me here, Brian, because
I don't want this to evolve into an Israel-Hamas thing. This is
right.
Not the one. I just want to know, Cedric, what you feel about, because Candace is somebody we both really admired at first, and Tucker, I know you were a big fan. What are your thoughts now on those two? Just, separate. We don't need to get into the weeds on Israel and Palestine, but the way they're kind of changing their worldview now. I mean, I don't understand it.
I don't. It's hard to get into Candace's mind, to get into Tucker's mind. I have to be honest and say I don't know where they're coming from. I know Candace spoke out and said that she knew Charlie was thinking about Catholicism, and I know that she's married to a gentleman now who's Catholic. It'll be very wrong for me to sit here and say this is where Tucker's coming from, this is where Candace is coming from, because I have no idea where they're coming from. And I know they're not the type of people that are going to try to appease to one side or the other. They're going to stand grounded in their convictions, whatever they may be. But to use a phrase that they've gone off the rails, it describes them perfectly.
Okay, and it kind of leads me into this other thing, because Candace has, and not just with the Charlie thing, before the Charlie thing, with the Hamas thing, I think she even dipped into the 9/11 thing. She's like the queen of conspiracy theories now, and she says it with such self-righteousness that, people tune into her. It is what it is. But yeah. I have seen some things about Charlie's murder that do call things into question.
Yes.
Whether they're just thrown out conspiracy theories, but I've seen it from some sources that I find they've been pretty accurate in the past, that don't quite make sense with the shooter that they arrested and where he was and all that. Again, we're going to dig in too deep into it, but because people love a conspiracy theory. But what do you guys think? We love to hear back. This is a reaction to events that go on, and it's kind of just free form. We always love to hear back from you. So, I mean, leave it in the comments. But what have you seen out there that you might suspect that there might have been something other than just the one shooter on the roof? What was his name? Tyler Robinson or whatever his name was. I can't even remember now.
Yes. Yeah, and I think for me, what we have to remember, conspiracy theory or not, Tyler Robinson was a shooter. He had someone else help. At the end of the day, we have to remember that Erica Kirk lost a husband. And although you didn't hear much about them, and I even made this mistake myself, parents lost a son. So at the end of the day, we may never find out what really happened. And like Brian alluded with Candace Owens, and did 9/11 really happen? Was it an inside job? Candace also said, did we really land on the moon, or was that all smoke and mirrors?
She's like she's grabbed onto every conspiracy theory out there. It's just so weird. It's just weird.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk was a major player in our world today, and has had things. And I think even Donald Trump will admit himself that if it wasn't for Charlie and his impact on college campuses across the world, that 30 and under crowd was pushed him over. I personally, I think that's why the election was over within 10 hours.
Yeah, no,
it was like
Charlie Kirk reached the people that need to be reached, the younger generation that historically usually always vote more left. He didn't quite. He did reach some women, but primarily men. And then it just showed what an impact these people try to diminish now Charlie because they couldn't beat him with their words, and then obviously they took him out, murdered him. But then they started to play into his memorial, which had probably over 100,000 people there because of the people that were standing around the stadium. It just shows the impact that one man could have, and it's because of the words and the way he debated, because he was a good person, and that the people that take him out of context, they're just lazy. I see things. I go on my phone, and I we all have friends that are on the left, which is fine, but they're lazy. Like, they'll post things about Charlie. Look at what a horrible human being he was. And it goes back to the whole thing when even Barack Obama, their hero, how they said how Trump said, there was fine people on both sides, which was a lie. He didn't say that. There was more to that statement. Well, Charlie, they took him out of context, and there was more to his statements. In fact, I've never seen the most heated debate I saw with Charlie was against a racist, a white racist, and Charlie went after him and told him to get out of line, because Charlie was not about that. And for these people to be so lazy and to call him all these things because they're not willing to take the extra time to actually find out what a good man this guy was. I mean, he was young, and sure, he made mistakes. We all do. We're not imperfect. But at the end of the day, if you watch his whole things, you realize he came from a good place. And it pissed me off. They were calling his memorial a Nazi rally or a white nationalist or Christian nationalist is the term they're throwing out there. And it's like, yes, Charlie was a Christian, and he was very pro-America. But it doesn't make him, they try to paint him as this right-wing Nazi type guy, which is the furthest thing from the truth. And these are the type of things that piss me off. And I was hoping now with today, with technology out there, that people would just take a little bit extra time and try to look for the truth instead of just trying to find what they agree with and just keep spewing the same stuff out there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I know that two of those things, touch on it real quick, was, Charlie said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. It was no such thing. He just said it was a mistake that he said, all people of color should have equal treatment, should be treated equally. He said when it became this broad thing and the transgender movement started using it to say, well, biological men can go into women's restrooms or biological men can participate in women's sports, he said that's when the Civil Rights Act took on a different vibe altogether, and that's what was wrong about it.
Yeah.
And then, like Brian said, people took things out of context and they ran with it. And I always say, if you're looking for something, you will find it. And a lot of people on the left were looking for reasons to vilify Charlie, and then they found it and they ran with it.
Yeah. And it's not surprising because, again, and this goes to why Charlie Kirk was a big Trump supporter, because he took the time to dig and he didn't believe all of the lies that were put out there for Trump, and now it's coming around to him, and people are doing the same thing to him that they did back in 2016, 2017, 2020. I mean, it just keeps going on. Now, I will say Charlie had much more tact than Trump. I mean...
Well, let's be clear. Charlie had a lot more tact than most of us.
Yeah, that's true. And he realized that Trump was part, stand-up comic, and other people can't even... I saw a guy post today, just a sidetrack, about Trump when he was trying to say acetaminophen. I thought that was hilarious, and Trump is self-deprecating. We just did a video on our other channel with Sawyer Brown, and it was a self-deprecating song. And people don't realize, they think Trump is so conceited. He's very self-deprecating, and Charlie got that about him. That's why he backed him. I mean, obviously they didn't have the same belief. Trump's the first one to come out and say that Charlie was a much better Christian than he is, and he would joke about it because he knows he's a fallen man. But people just want to take the worst out of everybody, and nobody wants to give grace, Cedric, unlike Erica Kirk, who probably gave the most tearful grace that anybody could give at that memorial.
Yeah, and I knew what she was going to say. I knew right at the moment when she started talking. I was like, she's going to forgive this man. And I remember I was sitting in my car at the time, and when she said, I forgive him, and very similar to what Trump said later on, you're a much better person than I am.
Yeah,
that would have been... But for those of you, again, who understand the biblical worldview of that, is that she had to forgive him for herself.
Yeah.
She couldn't carry that weight and that anger and that animosity toward him around because she has 2 young kids that she has to look after. And if she changes who she is, she's going to do a disservice to herself and her kids and the future legacy they have. And she's moving on. And when do we film this, Ryan? This is, September 28th? Yes. People are coming out and hating Erica Kirk because she is sitting in the empty chair next to the Charlie Kirk show. And people are saying, oh, wow, good job mourning your husband. It's like you guys cannot get into that woman's soul and know what mourning means to her. She also knew who her husband really was, and she's going to get right back in the saddle and carry on the message that he was trying to put out there. So, yeah, she's back out there. She's doing it, and because she's not hiding in a cave somewhere for the next 5, 6, 7 months doesn't mean she's not hurting inside. How can she not be hurting?
Plus, she's honoring her husband by carrying on what he felt so deeply about, and that is reaching young people and having them open their heart and their minds and to look at everything. You don't have to agree 100%. I mean, most of the people that were Charlie's biggest backers, the first thing they say is, I didn't agree with everything Charlie said. Nobody agreed. Me and Cedric don't agree on everything, obviously. That doesn't mean that you don't respect them or don't want to hang out with them. But that's the problem, because I've lost so many friends on the left because I don't agree 100% with them. It's just very silly. And I think we should put a bow on this, Cedric, by just kind of finishing up our thoughts here with Jimmy Kimmel. What about Jimmy Blackface Kimmel?
You guys have to look that up. Jimmy Blackface Kimmel. I think the left is trying to conflate this with they took away our free speech. You go back to 2020, you look at Dave Chappelle and Tim Allen and Roseanne Barr, and I know the left really gets on us when we talk about whataboutism. Well, it's appropriate here because there's a lot of people who were shut down. Even Brian and I, we had several videos that were taken down, not because we said anything wrong, because people just didn't like it.
We said the truth,
so we knew
actually.
We said the truth, and people couldn't handle that, and maybe they didn't like our delivery. We're not as classy and polished as a Charlie Kirk, so maybe we said something a little rough, but at the end of the day, it was still the truth.
Well, we know why, Cedric. Google finally came out, and they admitted that the Biden administration put pressure on them to censor things that didn't go along with the narrative. We were part of that censorship. They censored us when we said the word hydroxychloroquine or the other one that Joe Rogan took. we did just a review of his movie, and it got taken down.
Yeah.
Just a reaction to his movie.
We said men can't be women, and that was you can't say that. But Jimmy Kimmel, real quick, and I didn't want him to be taken off the air. I didn't watch The Man anyway. I've never watched a single episode of Jimmy Kimmel. And of course, the left got all excited and fired up after his 3-day suspension. He came back, and the ratings were through the roof. Of course they were. Everybody wanted to see what he was going to say in that show. I videotaped it just to hear what he was going to say. I haven't watched it yet. But I'm sorry, I said videotaped. I showed my age. I DVR'd it so I could watch it later on. But he did not apologize for the blatant lie when he said that Tyler Robinson was a part of MAGA. That was a blatant lie, and he stood there in front of his crowds of tens and put that lie out there and didn't retract it.
Well, Cedric, remember, there's film of him saying that if you or I would have had any reason to go to the hospital back in the 2021, that since you and I chose not to inject ourselves with some experimental drug, he said, bye, Wheezy, you could die, basically. So people like Cedric and I, Jimmy Kimmel actually said, die. I mean, those were, go look it up. It's not mine. He just said, you've had vaccinated, come on and get treated. You haven't? That's exactly what he said. Bye, Wheezy. And that's far more disgusting. He didn't get taken off the air for that. But like Cedric said, Roseanne got taken off the air for something that she said. And it wasn't a great thing that she said. I don't know if her heart, she claims that she didn't realize the person she was talking to was black when she made that comment. Maybe she didn't. Maybe it was just kind of like when they thought Trump made fun of the guy who was handicapped. Trump made that gesture all the time. That was always taken out of context. So I don't know, but Jimmy Kimmel cheered for that. And Stephen Colbert cheered if people got hurt that didn't take the vaccine back in the day. And I don't know. The hypocrisy kills me, but people on the left still post it, and they say that Jimmy Kimmel is having his free speech taken away. It's like, no. He could have gone on a mic. The government wasn't going to take him down like they did us. But the network said, you know what? This might piss off some people. We don't want to lose viewers. It's a free marketplace. That's in their right. And then the pressure from the left and all these freaking actors who don't know their head from their ass pressured the ABC to bring him back on. And so they brought him back on. And again, his ratings spiked for a day. They're going to be back down. And then if they want to keep losing money on him, more power to him. It doesn't come out of my pocket. At least it's not government money.
Yeah, I think it'll take its natural route in about 3 to 4 months when his contract is up. We'll see what happens then. Yeah. Talking about Tucker Carlson, remember Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox.
Yeah,
and
cheered
Jimmy
that
Kimmel
too.
made some comment about calling him Mother Tucker. Yeah. And the things were crude, but like Brian says, the hypocrisy on the left is like rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah, it's stupid. But we just wanted to bring this out. We haven't put a lot of these Cedric and Brian Speak Out, so we wanted to make sure we got on here. We wanted to kind of, I mean, Cedric and I, back in 2020, when we started this channel just as a couple of guys talking about which way do you hang your toilet paper, then the shit hit the fan, and we're like, I'm Cedric, I go, I need to vent, and this is a perfect platform. And we started venting, and then we got more views because people wanted to vent. And they could kind of vent through us, which was great. And obviously we weren't the first. We're definitely not the last. But this is where we can come on and vent.
Well, remember, Brian, we weren't supposed to like each other.
Yeah.
No, we could be friends, a black guy and a white guy during this time.
Of course, I
suffer from I suffer from Stockholm syndrome.
You do suffer. You're an Uncle Tom, which people don't realize isn't really an insult. But right. I did have to get away from Cedric, so I moved, almost to the other side of the country. Actually, I'm trying to get Cedric here. You guys keep pressuring him. Tell Cedric he needs to get out of California. It can't be saved we're way too old for that. If Cedric was 20, I'd say stay and fight, but he's old. He's old. He's not going to make it.
30 isn't old.
All right.
Well, so we just want to and again, at the end of the day, Erica Kirk lost her husband. We lost a huge mouthpiece for the conserving our Judeo-Christian values. in this country.
Our Constitution, Cedric. Our Constitution.
The Constitution. But like I said at the very beginning of this, not to make Charlie into a Jesus character, but to draw comparisons, is that when Jesus was crucified, his 12 disciples and many others said, "He's gone." Now we used to lean on him so heavily. Now it's up to us to take up the mantle and run with it. And I know Brian and I said that during our reaction to Tom McDonald's song "Charlie." It's like a lot of us got to take up the mantle now. Very similar to what J.D. Vance said at the memorial when he said, I have talked more about Jesus Christ in the last 4 weeks than I have during my entire time in office here. That's going to be my style. Brian said he has a different style, but I think we're all going to fight the fight in the way that suits us best, but we're still going to make Charlie proud.
All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell, share all of our channels. So we've got this one, Cedric and Brian Speak Out. We have Cedric and Brian, the OG channel. That's where you're going to go and you're going to get less political, but just music reactions to stuff that people tell us they want to see. We like to find independent artists. We found Ren on there. We found a lot of independent people that we really, really enjoy. And then if you can, go over and watch Tennessee Time. That is about a journey of 4 families who left California. We had to get out of there and moved all the way across country, bought 20 acres. We each took a plot of land and built our own little compound here. So check that out too. And
if that doesn't have white nationalist vibes, I don't know what does.
Cedric's loved out here. We're gonna
move to the compound.
Green Acres is
oh, jeez. All right, but guys, but keep fighting out there. We don't have a clean, clear-cut way to end this. So, Brian, you can end it any way you want to. I know you were in the midst of doing that, but you can end it, and I will shut up.
That's Cedric, and I'm Brian. We will see you later.